Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. I am your host, Carlika Span, and we are at the studio for Anchor of Hope, the podcast here at Sparrow Family Services. Today we are talking about building bright beginnings, strategies for early learning success, and I have two amazing women with me, Tineka Doggan, and I also have Sunny Campbell. But before we get started, I am going to allow them to introduce themselves to you and share just a little bit about yourself. So Tineka, tell us, or tell listeners and the viewers a little bit about yourself and who you are.
So my name is Tineka Doggan. I am a developmental therapist through early intervention, and I've been a therapist for almost 25 years actually in March, and I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
So I know that about you, but just to share a little bit more, you specifically target or work with group ages 0 through 3 or birth through 3.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Okay. 0 to 3. And we kind of like specialize in just overall developmental delays, but we also really like zero in on kids on the spectrum. So I have a lot of children on the spectrum that I work with every day.
Okay, awesome. Sunny, tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, my name is Sunny Campbell. I'm the director at Bright Star Early Learning Center. I have been there since almost 5 years now. We have kiddos from 6 weeks all the way up to age 5. As long as they're not enrolled in kindergarten. So
Okay.
We have a good variety of littles at our center.
Okay, and so you are actually one of our own. So how long have you actually been a part of the Sparrow family team?
So my story actually starts out during COVID. So I started on a Wednesday. That Friday we were shut down and I was at home with my daughter for about 3.5 months.
Oh my goodness.
I started out as the office admin over at the daycare, and then an opportunity opened and then I became the director. So it all happened so fast. It's been a great journey and I'm super thankful for it.
Okay, awesome. So clearly these are areas that you have to be passionate about. Working with small kiddos at the daycare center, and because I know a little bit about you and you personally, I know that that's where your passion lies. But Tineka, where would you say the start was for you, or what actually inspired you to dive into therapy?
Well, in all honesty, I have been working with kids all my life. No, seriously. Like, I started out like being a youth leader and then like a youth coordinator. And at like 19, I was running programs that had like 100 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like summer programs that ran 100 children, like 19, 20 years old doing that.
Yeah.
And so after that, I kind of zeroed in my focus on social services. And I was like, okay. But I didn't care to do that, like, work as a social worker. So I was like, you know what? I love little children. I took this job on just kind of like as a whim. A girl told me to try it.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, you were gonna like this job. And I was like, no, I'm not. She was like, yeah, you will. Just do it.
Yeah.
And I did it. And I only had 6 children when I started this job. And I did it part-time while I was still a social worker. And then I just kind of prayed about it. And the Lord was like, yeah, do it full-time. Walk away from social work. And I haven't looked back 25 years later.
Yeah, I love that. And I know a little bit about your story. So you're an entrepreneur, though. You work for yourself,
yes,
correct? Okay,
yes.
just wanted to share that with everyone also. Tell us a little bit about like that aha moment maybe you had, or where did your actual start actually come from?
So back in high school, we had to write an essay about what we wanted to be when we grew up for our senior year. And so obviously back then, I was actually wanting to do special education. So I went to school for early childhood. I have an aunt who is actually, she now has Down syndrome. And so that really like pushed me when I was going through school, what I wanted to do. And then my mindset changed and I wanted to be with littles and be in early childhood and just be the helping hand and being a part of shaping and modeling those kiddos. And so that's always just really been my passion.
Oh, I love that story.
Okay. So both of you have a long-standing history of like regarding where your start began, but what keeps you passionate about this? Like how are y'all still here? You got so much skin in the game, but you're showing up, you seem to be speaking of it in, such a great space. So what keeps you passionate about what you do? Sunny?
I can say, so if you ever are at the daycare, you come in, you see Miss Allison, Miss Jackie, and myself, and I literally have windows. So I get to see anybody and everybody that comes in, and I always joke, I always feel like I'm kind of like at a zoo because the littles like come in and they're happy and they smile and they put their faces on my window. And knowing that you are one of the first people that they see in the morning, and they come in happy, it warms your heart to know that they are coming in and they feel safe and comfortable in the environment that they're coming into, and it just feels great.
I love that. Tineka?
That's good. Yeah, I would say this is truly my purpose. Like it's nothing else I would rather do. It is what I wake up in the morning and want to do. It's what I go to sleep, typing reports, thinking about doing. So there's no greater thing to be fully engulfed in purpose, and when it comes to working with children with special needs, for sure.
Okay, I love that. So focusing a little bit more on Bright Start and just the daycare arena itself, like what are some strategies you would say that people or Bright Start actually implements to support a learning environment for young children?
A couple of things that I feel like all of the teachers at the daycare do. So we have a curriculum at the daycare, and it's Frog Street, and the teachers incorporate that in the classroom, and we're meeting milestones, and we're figuring out what a kiddo might be lacking in and what a kiddo might be succeeding in. And we brought back parent-teacher conferences with the parents, and being able to show the parents the assessments and what your child is really, the strengths that they have. And if they have any questions or anything like that they want to work on, like we are willing and adjusting and able to do this for the kiddos and have a high quality learning center for them. I think in this area is really great.
Okay, so even though it's a daycare center, then would you say that the parent-teacher conferences pretty much go hand in hand and coincide like what one would think of a parent-teacher conference in the regular school setting?
I think so in a way. We've done phone conferences. So we recently had an open house where we invited all of our families to come in and kind of like see the environment and talk one-on-one, giving them that opportunity. I know drop-off can be chaotic and hectic, and they were actually able to sign up and do it. And if they were interested, it might just be a little bit different only because we're working with like the younger kids and things like that, but they're able to see assessments that and things, artwork and, anything like that they're doing in the classroom. I feel like it kind of is, in a way.
And some of our viewers and listeners don't know, y'all work hand in hand sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You guys work together.
We
So
do.
got a partnership going on that some people
do.
might not know about.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing. How would you say that developmental therapy complements early education, Tineka?
Well, it kind of goes like hand in hand what she said. Like they set the tone for us to go in and be like, okay, this is the one particular kid that I'm working with. And, and one thing I can say about Bright Star that I appreciate is that the teachers are great listeners. They very complimentary to what we need. And I mean, Sunny probably don't really give herself enough credit on the sensory room they're trying to make.
Okay.
Woo! We're gonna be so happy when that comes. Listen, I've been bragging on that because that is something that kids, when they start off to Head Start or pre-K, that's available to them now. Whereas, she'll be the first daycare I've been in that has created a playroom, sensory room. And plus, we can work in there as private providers to special needs children. We can go in there. It's a sign on the door, developmental therapy, speech therapy. We walk straight in, do our thing, and we can come out. But the resources are there. We don't even really, once they get done with that, we won't even have to bring toys. It'll be ready to just.
It'll be already there.
Yes. So it's a great collaboration of the vision of a child and how we get that kid to the end goal.
Okay. I love that. And you actually already offered me a segue right on into the next question.
Okay.
And that's really the importance of collaborations with therapists and educators, daycares. I know the importance of it as a parent because you've come into my home before to offer supportive services to my grandboy. And so just speak to that a little bit. It's a staple in my eyes. But I don't think a lot of people might understand the importance of that relationship and how great it is for you guys to work together.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be a good communicator. You know what I'm saying? I think probably one of the things I really work at is communicating with this lady's the director. She's not the teacher.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? She runs the daycare. So us having a good relationship flows to everyone else. You see what I'm saying? So I'm intentional about keeping that open. And like there's things that, like there's things that I may need. Sunny had a social emotional thing that I needed, packet that I needed. They copied it, gave it to me so I could make sure I could pass it on to DCFS, to the kids that needed it for that. I mean, it's just being thoughtful. Being a good communicator to the people who are in charge and respectful. Even though we have a different set of skill sets that come with being a private provider, and you're dealing with people who, speech therapists who may have masters, or you may be dealing with a physical therapist who has a PhD or something. You're dealing with people who in different segues. However, respect is very mutual. It's nothing about, and their teachers there, we go in, we respect them. And I feel like she creates the right environment to collaborate and do what we need to do and make the child feel like you have all the resources you need to succeed.
Yeah, I like that. For both of you, this is a question for both of you. What role would you say that parents actually play in the early learning process and how they can best support their child's learning in the daycare center with therapy? But I'll start with you.
I would say parents being involved with their kiddos, it's a main key. Not only at home, but whatever we are able to provide them through the daycare, they can take home with them. So like we do assessments, we do ASQs. We're able to see their scores, what they're low in, what they need to succeed in. And that's how, when we do those, that's how we send them and refer them to them. And so being open and understanding that my child might need a little bit of assistance, and knowing that we can provide it to them, and doing what's best for your little.
Okay, so just in a little more detail, explain ASQs, like educate us on what that actually is.
Okay, so at the center, Miss Jackie, actually, there's a packet. So it can either go home with the parents, or then the teachers can also do it. And it's just a big packet, and it talks about fine motor skills, communication, and things like that. And you would score this; it would be scored, and then we would kind of see where you would fall. If we need to send home an activity page for them to do, or if maybe we need to refer them.
Okay, I love that. Tineka, you want to add to that?
I mean, as far as parents, I agree. They are literally the cornerstone.
They are.
We are their support, and we start where the parents are as well. I mean, it is very strategic in the work that we do, because it's hard to tell. Sometimes we go in and a parent will say, well, I'm concerned about speech. Well, us being the professionals we are, we know speech is layered. It's not just language. It's can he listen? Can he follow instructions? Can he imitate his hands up or put them down? Can he clap? Does he imitate oral motor movements? Like, we're thinking in our heads all these specific details that kids should know before language.
Right.
So sometimes it takes us talking to the parent and explaining to them the level of breaking that down to succeed.
Okay.
So that's what we do.
Because I've been on the other side of that table, would you say that's sometimes a challenge for you?
It is. It is, because a lot of times, parents, like I said, will just immediately be like, I want them to talk.
Yes.
And the level of patience you need to kind of effectively communicate so that parents feel comfortable with what you're doing and how you're going to execute it is important.
Very important.
Yeah, so we really work on that. We really encourage them, like, we got this, we're gonna help you, we're gonna show you,
right,
and we're gonna show the kid, and let's move forward. So yeah, parents are so vital, and we want them to be a part of early intervention, what we do. So,
and what I hear both of you saying though is it's a partnership with the parents, because it's not just about while they're in therapy, or it's not just about while they're at the daycare, but making sure that those things are effectively happening at home and outside of your care, either the daycare too.
Can I throw this in too?
Yes, please.
So one of the things that I have learned too is that whenever parents may say, well, the teacher said this or the teacher said that, one of the things about what I do is protect integrity.
Okay.
Because there's never a time I'm going to throw one of her teachers under the bus.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm going to make sure that, because they know what they're doing as well. They're just as good at executing what we're doing all together.
Right.
So I'm always saying, yes, they're seeing that. And here's how we accomplish that. And I saw the same thing.
Okay.
So basically, it's so important to create that environment that we're focused on the kid. We're not about the vision of it. We want you to feel supported, the kid, the daycare teacher, as well as the therapist.
Yeah, that just goes with you collectively working together and being on the same page. I think that's a beautiful thing, how that relationship flows. How would you approach inclusivity in your program?
I think you do that very well.
And so just to further add to that, like just making sure that all children, regardless of their developmental need, feel included and don't feel isolated or like keeping everything kind of mainstream, even though you're dealing with children of all developmental delays, possibly on target, possibly not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you incorporate inclusivity?
I think all of our teachers really do a fine job of including everybody in any given thing, even if it is giving that child a moment to be away from what everybody else is doing. They still are including that kiddo, but just giving them a moment. They provide many different ways to include the children in all of the activities or the planning or anything like that they do. I feel like we do provide an awful lot of like a good variety of like items and things like that for all of the littles and things like that at the daycare too. The teachers do a wonderful job, really.
Okay.
Want to make a real impact? At Sparrow, we believe in the strength of community and the power of support. We're hiring passionate individuals like you. Whether you're a seasoned expert or just starting out, we have the perfect environment for you to grow. Discover exciting opportunities at sparrowfs.org and join us in our mission to create lasting change. So why wait? Anchor your career with Sparrow Family Services, where your passion meets purpose.
Your relationship with kiddos is typically one-on-one, right? Or do you ever do anything in a group setting?
Oh, we do. It depends on the kid and what the parent wants. It goes back to our parent. If the parent is saying, my kid plays really isolated and I need to see them engaging more, then we'll go in the classroom and work. So yeah, we do that often too. Okay,
I wasn't sure because I was going to give you the opportunity to ask the same question. But I see you work typically one-on-one. That's why I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. But I can say this, the inclusive part of like children on the spectrum, I've seen the teachers as well as myself, we take that kid, we sit down in circle time. You know what I mean? They don't get to run off and play by themselves. They have to participate. So that's so important so that they get that socialization, they get that music, they get that body movement activity. They get all those things in play, in order for them to grow and feel like a part of the class.
Okay. So it might happen differently, but they're included while it's happening.
Yeah, most definitely.
I like that. Some developmental milestones that you think all parents should be aware of.
Well, because we're seeing like autism spectrum disorder so greatly, one of the things we really tell parents is if you have a baby and they're not looking at you, and very early on, that should be the onset of eye contact. So if you see your kids turning away, not establishing eye contact, not smiling, not laughing, not enjoying your interaction back and forth, so red flag, playing a lot by themselves. And, I'm so against a screen time. We as a therapist, the more I see children and the more I see them with the tablet and the screen time addiction and the amount of their brain development is terrifying. To watch because it's really doing more damage than it is good. We never had tablets. We went outside, we played.
True, that's true. So can I ask a specific question about that?
Yeah.
And really for a personal question of my own. Okay. So what would be your advice or what would be like your boundary or what's like a healthy time frame for them regarding a tablet or iPad or something like that?
Yeah, I keep my little cousin Kalea and she comes over and she gets like 20 minutes if she plays a games on my tablet. And I usually don't allow her to watch a lot of YouTube on there because their brains are still so developing.
They are.
And by the time those flashes and that quick visuals, and it creates a addiction, a visual addiction, a sound addiction. It's just too much for them. So 20 minutes, we're off. And most of the time, it's tabletop. It's Play-Doh, it's puzzles, it's coloring, it's blocks, it's whatever you would like to do at the table. You know, and then if it's nice out, we're outside. It's bubbles, it's running, it's playing in the leaves. It's just being a kid.
Okay.
It's so important.
It is, but sometimes it's difficult to ration that time frame out. So I just wanted to hear, your thoughts on what that looked like, or
a timer, and cut it as much as you can because it's so needed.
Okay. With the daycare environment, I'm so far removed. So this is a sincere question. Do kiddos have tablet time? Is there ever a time for?
We don't have tablets.
Okay.
So we do have tablets, but they are just for the teachers.
Okay.
But they do get screen time. Under 2, they do not get screen time.
Okay.
So they do have a certain amount of time that they can have. But the teachers really just use it during like their circle time. They do music and movement, Danny Go and stuff like that. They play that a lot to get them interactive and things like that. But no tablets.
Okay. I just wondered, because I know sometimes maybe you do things like on the whiteboard.
Yeah, we have smart boards.
Just wondering. So both of y'all, I'm sure, got a success story. You probably have multiple, but is there one maybe like success story that just really resonates into like the leaps and bounds you've seen a child go from point A to point B, or like maybe make a really full circle change in their life because of therapy or because of the things you were implementing in daycare? Sunny, I'll ask you first.
Okay, so I would have to say there's this one little boy, and Allison, Jackie, and we are so touched by this little guy. We watched him grow just throughout. I know when he came, he had like a hard time and things like that, communicating and being verbal and making friends. And we just watched him blossom, though, going through our center and then being able to go to preschool. And then this last summer was his last time with us. And so you just really get attached to the littles, and then when it's time for them to go, it's very heartbreaking and things like that. But then when you see them out at Walmart or, the store and things like that, and they still get that smile and they recognize like whom you are, it's just heartwarming, and it's great for the soul, really. So all 3 of us up there, we always cry about somebody who's leaving, and then when they come back to see us, we're like, oh my gosh.
Got so big.
Yeah. All the changes. Definitely relatable. Tanika, a story that you might have that maybe just stands out in your mind.
I do. I probably have a lot of stories. I don't know. I mean, like, I have kids who, like, part of, like I said, working with children with autism, some of the parents have to trust the process, and it is very hard. It's a hard process to trust.
Difficult.
Because sometimes we have kids who go from 0 to 100, and, and because, we're trained to kind of, like, be patient and work through that behavior, watching us work a child through that behavior can be challenging for parents. So I do have this quick story. A dad was like, yeah, we're done. And that was the first time somebody ever just kind of like picked their kid up and was like,
let's go.
Yeah, like you can leave. And so...
Oh, he was done with you?
Yeah, he was done with me.
Okay.
He said, we're done. And so the mom was like, no, we're not, Miss Tineka. She was like, we are going to stick to this. And the funny story is, the kid ended up, she was like, I'm putting him in Bright Start. And I want you to see him there. And no, seriously. And he kicked and he screamed and he hollered and they peep in the door like, you guys okay? And I'm like, we're okay. When I tell you this kid is amazing now. Like, I mean, he is talking. He knows like all the dinosaurs. He's just so amazing. But it's trusting the process to get there. And which he was nonverbal at the time. And so the only thing he knew was to be angry and be frustrated. But we worked through that. And I used to, when they would peep in and be like, you okay? I'm like, we're good. Trust the process.
It takes time.
And it takes golden patience.
But it also takes the kiddo learning, familiarizing themselves with you, building that relationship, and trusting you also.
Yes.
So that's just a part of it itself. That takes time.
Kids are very instinctual. Though. They trust. They immediately can trust too, and they vibe and they feel you, and they're like, okay, she's okay.
Yeah, they feel safe.
They feel safe.
So with kiddos being different ages, like 5 and under, on the spectrum and just at different learning stages in their lives. Clearly, we all have a goal for them, whether it's a little boy that you might be seeing or maybe a certain girl or child in the daycare. How do you actually measure success? Because every child is different, but in your mind or in the daycare center or on your platform, what determines, oh my gosh, this was a success, or yep, this has been successful?
I would say at the daycare, like I keep mentioning the things that we do, like the assessments, the things like that, but not only having a record and a tracking and things like that, but it's like an aha moment when you see the kiddo succeeding. And you're like, oh my gosh, you just spelt your name, or you just, you are with the babies. Oh my gosh, they can walk. They just walked.
Right.
Oh my gosh, we've been working on this, and it's those moments, and you're like, we just made that milestone. Check that off.
Yeah. I totally agree. That's kind of how we do. We really monitor the milestones. My biggest measure of success is the level of confidence when the confidence changes in the child.
Okay.
Because most of the kids are not confident. That's why they're crying. That's why they're overwhelmed. But when that confidence changes, you got a whole new kid on your hand, and the expectations, the ability to succeed goes out the roof.
Okay. So we talked about parents, but I also want to address educators as well, because some just may not be familiar. Maybe they're a new educator on the scene, and they're just not familiar with what to look for. What can they do regarding recognizing and addressing developmental delays in the classroom?
As far as like the teachers, I agree with her. I feel like they do a good job. They're great at pulling us aside and saying, hey, this kid isn't walking. Hey, this kid isn't talking. Hey, this kid is over in the corner playing by himself. They are really good at that. Not all teachers are trained to have an eye for that. So I have to give them like their kudos for that, and a lot of times, like she said, they'll do the referral and say, hey, we saw this. And I tell them, be just as confident as you're telling me with that parent. Let them know you have the same expertise, you know what I mean, that we have. You do this every day, in and out. And so, listen, they do it, and then we just come behind and confirm, yes, we see the same things. This is what we can do to help and support. And, and I feel like the teachers there do a great job. So as far as like early childhood education, we work so hand in hand with the teachers and the educators in that area.
And I also think that the teachers, they not only communicate with us, they'll start out and communicate with the parents too, and ask questions like, do you see this at home, or is this something new, or have you seen it before, really?
Yeah.
And then they just work their way up to us in the office, and then we just work our way to you guys if it's anything that we might see that is concerning. Like we just honestly sent one in today. We had a parent sign a consent, and she'd seen the ASQ and just felt like her kiddo needed a little bit more assistance, and we just sent it in today. So.
Okay. And I love that you just shared that, because on the flip side, I know that situation could have went a different way. Meaning I know many parents can be in denial. So I know you're a boss at what you do, and you have all the accolades and the experience. I know you're amazing at what you do, but how do you try to support or bridge the gap, even with the educator involved, to have that conversation with the parent that's in denial? The writing is on the wall, but they don't see it. They're really not ready to cross that bridge because that's their baby. And maybe they feel like, something's wrong, or people are going to label my child, and they just don't want any part of it. How do you cross that bridge or have a successful conversation with?
I just think it's really setting down and being comfortable in your own shoes, and literally taking, this could be your own little, and taking it at that mindset and knowing that we are here just to provide your little with as much help in the early stages of their life, and it can benefit them in the long run. So there's so many resources that are literally out there, and that is what we are. We're stepping stone in helping provide for your little, and just really being honest with them. And if they take it, it's great for everybody. But sometimes it's a couple more chances, a couple more things, a couple more tracking, or doing more of it, and then finally it does set in that we do need help.
For sure. For sure. I have those tough conversations a lot. And what I've learned in 25 years is that it is simply okay to wait for that parent.
Mhm.
It is simply okay to be compassionate.
Okay.
It's simply okay to not worry
Mhm.
to the extent of what I'm about to come in here and do is going to change nothing when it comes to how we proceed.
Okay.
So I'm going to come in here and work.
Mhm.
And when you're ready, we can do it. We
Okay.
can have that conversation.
Okay.
But if you're not ready, I'm totally okay with you watching
waiting.
me doing what
Yes. Okay. I like that approach.
we do. Yeah.
So, nothing is forced.
No, not
Right.
at all. Not
Yeah.
at all. It's full of compassion and
Okay.
understanding.
So when the parent is ready though, when they're on board, they get it, or maybe they come in out the gate just right away saying, this is what you saw, let's move forward with some assistance. What do those steps look like for developmental therapy, or where should they start? What steps should they take?
So with us, we do the referral. They come to us and say, so we start with that ASQ, honestly, at the daycare. Start with that ASQ, and then we find any of the scores that are low. Then I send a paper home, and then it shows that your kiddo has scored low in these, and we would like to see if you would like to be referred. And if they come back and say yes, then our next step is to fill out some more paperwork and then send the referral in, and then we have them involved in it,
Okay.
and it helps.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we definitely take it to the next level. If that parent is ready, then we go all in. We're not afraid to talk about it. We're not afraid to tell them it's going to be okay. You know, and we're not afraid to point them in all the direction of services that they need. So they may need developmental therapy, but they may need occupational therapy. They may need physical therapy. They may need speech. We might need to get a behavior assessment. We do referrals to Knights of Columbus. I mean, there is a gamut of skill sets that we start. Of referrals we made to make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed, and so that you feel like this group of people is coming in with the absolute level of professionalism I need to help my child succeed.
Okay. So that tells me too, though, that the both of you probably have great relationships with a lot of people that fall under the umbrella of learning, special needs, therapy, things like that. So when a parent does need a resource, then maybe it's just a phone call away. It's really an easy connection for the parents. Right?
Yeah, and at the daycare, we literally right by the door when you walk in to the left, there's referrals all over.
Okay.
There's little pamphlets and everything. So we provide a lot of things throughout the community and things like that for our parents.
I love that. In just a short amount of time, we've covered a lot. So how you got started, where your passion lies, relationships with parents, what things look like with you when you're working with kiddos one-on-one, what they look like in the daycare center. If you could just offer a takeaway regarding what you do, and Tineka regarding what you do for our viewers, our listeners, and parents also, what would that be?
I would just say, in the daycare world, you just never know what is going to happen. One day you could be short-staffed. One day you could have kiddos out because there's just a sickness that comes in, and so you just never know what's going to happen. But always know that our teachers are there to provide comfort and support for your little, and we're there for a safe environment for those littles, and we just love them.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that, because especially for new parents, that could be a frightening experience. Like having your baby, or your little one go to daycare for the first time.
Yes.
So a safe space, I'm just glad that you used that word, because for me, as a mom, as a grandma, and just knowing other parents, that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know that you can actually go to work, focus on work, and your baby's okay.
Yes.
Especially the little kids.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Tanika, what would be maybe just like a takeaway for everyone?
I think the takeaway from what we do, 90%, I'd say 80% of the people who do what I do, this is all they do, and this is what they're passionate about, and this is what they want to do. So early intervention is, people think I talk about it but I know it's the bomb.
Yeah.
It's not something that I know it's magnificent, and you cannot beat what we do, because we're focused on children from 0 to 3, and their brain development, their ability to develop at this age is so crucial, so important, that why wait?
Yeah.
Don't do it to your child. If you have a concern, go and get your kid tested. We only have a small window to sow those seeds into them. You need it. They need it.
And I just want to piggyback off of what you said, and you said as well. I'm completely sold on knowing that it takes a special person to work with small people. And then I'm talking about outside of parents, especially because you're working with children that are not your own.
Yes.
So as I've grown, raised my kids, and become a grandmother, I like to think I'm patient. But when I see you, especially in my own home working with my grandboy, I'm like, she got him to do something he wouldn't do for me.
Yeah.
You know, just because your approach, you really do have to have a certain level of patience. You have to have a certain passion and a certain heart and drive every day that you wake up for these kiddos. So thank you both for diving into this arena. And I can see that your passion is really, really doing its thing in the lives of kiddos that I know and certainly kiddos that I don't know. Our new slogan here is I hope. So before we wrap everything up, what do you hope for? Can you share a hope with us?
I hope that there's a way that we can include all of the littles in any given environment and showing them love and support no matter what is going on in the world. And you see them and they just know that you love them, and just having an open heart and being patient and kind. Everybody could be like that. That's what I hope for.
I love that. Tineka, I hope.
I hope that every kiddo feels loved, feels amazing, feels powerful, feels chosen, feels called, feels purposeful.
Okay, I like that. Tineka, Sunny, thank you guys again for taking time out of your day, because this is an evening podcast.
Yes.
So you all have worked and then y'all came and hung out with me.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Again, and we might have y'all back, because there's so many other things we could chat about on this subject. It's just an umbrella that covers so many things. So thank you guys again. And for those of you watching, for those of you listening, thank you for hopping on. You can absolutely follow us on Spotify. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts as well as YouTube. So do not miss the next episode. It's going to be amazing. This has been your host, Carlika Span, with Anchor of Hope.